Herikwala District Mayor Mluleki Ndobe is behind bars. Ndobe and his two co-accused appeared in court for the murder of former ANC Youth League Secretary General Sindiso Magaqa on Tuesday. Magaqa was shot several times in July 2017 and died from his injuries in September that year. ENCA's Samkele Maseko was in court.
The man known as the Black Mamba, Mluleki Ndobe, will spend the rest of the week behind bars. He appeared at the Mzimkhulu Magistrates Court alongside Municipal Manager Zwelibanzi Skosana and businessman Mbulelo Mpofana. They are facing one charge of murder and 2 counts of attempted murder.
If you want to know how is he going to plead to those, he's pleading not guilty.
Prosecutor Suhana Mudli can't say if more suspects will be arrested. She says the state wants the accused to stay in prison. The ANC now seems uncertain about how to tackle the pickle it finds itself in. Ndobe is number 3 on the governing party's provincial legislature list. The party says it can't remove him without due process being followed.
Allow the leadership of the ANC to discuss and engage on principle. Remember, the leadership does not decide on individuals. The leadership takes a decision that is principled. You see, we can't have an Ndobe decision. We must have an ANC decision that applies in a particular circumstance that will cover all other circumstances that are similar.
Ndobe may have to recuse himself from the list while he tries to clear his name. Samkele Maseko, Mzimkhulu in KwaZulu-Natal.
Cheryl Zondi is expecting her second take at testifying in the Amato rape trial to be tougher. Zondi has so far been the first and only witness in the trial of Nigerian pastor Timothy Omodoso. Now she'll likely have to retestify after the presiding judge had recused himself. Zondi's heartbreaking testimony garnered her huge support from South Africans, but at the same time, she'd suffered victimization from Omodoso's supporters. Zondi addressed the media in Johannesburg. ENCA reporter Zikona Chona was there.
Cheryl Zondi says she'd underestimated the impact that testifying in full view of the nation would have on her.
How many centimeters? Do you know?
She says the reality that she'd have to relive her trauma had her completely stressed.
As if I didn't have to write special exams because the trauma I experienced made me incapable of concentration. I couldn't read for a few months. As if I didn't have to spend time away from my family to keep myself alive and to keep them alive.
Zondi's harrowing testimony captivated many South Africans for days. She told the Port Elizabeth High Court how she had been sexually groomed and raped by International Dominion pastor Timothy Omodoso. Now she's gearing up for round 2 after Judge Mandela Makawula recused himself following revelation that some of the child's witnesses had been staying at a guest house in which his wife has shares.
You were prepared to let him rape you?
Yeah, there's no remedy for death.
Zondi says she's more than ready to do it again.
I'm not going to lie and say I feel strong all the time or that I feel ready all the time. You know, I am a human being and I am feeling the pressure of this whole process. I feel that when the time comes, I'll be okay.
The National Prosecuting Authority says Makawula's recusal had come as a shock. It says it will inform all witnesses of how the latest developments will impact them all. The trial against Omodoso and 2 others resumes in July. Zikona Chona, Johannesburg.
Public Enterprises Minister Pravin Gordhan is unfazed over an Inspector General report recommending a criminal investigation into his conduct. In a 2014 classified document, the former SARS commissioner is accused of installing an unlawful intelligence unit within the revenue collector. Now there's a battle over this report, which is at the center of a criminal complaint by the public protector against the Minister of State Security.
Go ahead and arrest me. For what? An Inspector General of Intelligence report recommends a criminal investigation against these former SARS officials. Erstwhile IG Faith Khatebe found the SARS intelligence unit was set up illegally. According to her findings, the unit was constituted without the approval of the President as required by law.
No, I have no fear about the Inspector General report at all, because they didn't even come and interview me, for example. But that report is supposed to be confidential, by the way. But it's interesting how it gets into different hands.
ENCA understands these hands include that of Public Protector Advocate Busisiwe Mkhwebane. State Security Minister Dipuo Letsatsi Duba lodged a criminal complaint against Mkhwebane for being in possession of the report. And now the Public Protector has lodged a counter-charge accusing the minister of interfering with the investigation by not releasing a redacted version of the document.
She subpoenaed this document. The minister still did not play ball. Hence, she is of the view that the minister is being contemptuous, and she has then proceeded to lay criminal charges against the minister.
The Public Protector's investigation relates to a complaint lodged by the EFF against Gordhan.
Down, Pravin, down!
Coincidentally, this report is the same one used in the application by former SARS Commissioner Tom Moyane to cross-examine Gordhan at the Zondo Commission of Inquiry into State Capture. Aldrin Simpier, Johannesburg.
News from the continent now. Rescue workers in Mozambique have been racing against the clock to find hundreds of stranded people. This after several cities were left flooded in the aftermath of Cyclone Idai. Roads around the port city of Beira are swamped and it's raining heavily, complicating rescue efforts. This means aid is being flown into affected areas by helicopter or plane. 210 people were saved in the Buzi district on Wednesday. ENCA's Dasen Tatia was in Beira with the South African rescue team and filed this report.
The clock is ticking to rescue thousands that are trapped in the flooded Buzi district in Mozambique. Rescue operations have already started, with about 167 trapped residents being rescued on the first day. The search is on in the Buzi district, and I'm flying with the South African Air Force and Rescue SA. This looks like an ocean now, one which has wiped out entire villages. But not long ago, it was dry land. In a bid to escape the deadly water, many have gathered at this stadium. They've been trapped here for days, and their faces tell the story of their struggle. Parents protecting their children, and desperately clinging to the last of their possessions. These groups are dropped off at a temporary camp on drier land, where they are assessed and fed. En route to the stadium, rescuer Paul Herbst spots a family marooned on an island. Surrounded by pieces of what was once their home. They're not the only ones. These men too are in trouble. For some, it's all too much. And urgent medical treatment is needed. Rescuers will continue working flat out in the coming days. Deep down, they know they won't save everyone. But it certainly hasn't stopped them from trying. Desan Tathia in Beira, Mozambique.
Meanwhile, in Zimbabwe, rescue efforts are also underway. More than 100 people have lost their lives and at least 500 have been reported missing.
After days of bad weather, rescuers managed to cut through fallen trees and clear debris that had blocked roads to get to a rescue center where helicopters were finally able to fly into the worst affected areas. The injured are being brought here for initial assessment and triaging before transfer to Chipinge Hospital.
We have head injuries, some have fractures, broken limbs, some also broken pelvis or hips.
It's been a harrowing experience for those who've made it out alive, one that's likely to leave permanent scars long after the superficial ones have healed.
We may treat the wounds now, but there are a lot of mental health issues that will arise from this. I've heard some of the stories from the local people. Some of them, they've lost the whole family. Some have lost children.
500 people are reported still missing somewhere in the valleys of Chimanimani. Rescuers are in a race against time to reach them before it's too late. All this under the watchful eye of survivors, lucky enough to have escaped unscathed, but now in anguish as they wait, hoping their loved ones and neighbors might be among those coming in on the next flight.
Coming up, unapologetic and radical. These are some of the words used to describe youths nominated by their political parties to represent them in Parliament. We bring you that shortly.